Hello and welcome to Spurs Kings TV. It's me, Marlon, the host tonight, and it's finished Newcastle 4, Spurs 0 at St James's Park at the early kickoff today. I'm not even going to get into it. I'm going to let all my panel get into it. I've got a lot of people on tonight, so let's get going. And let me say my hellos first. Ian, are you well? Are you keeping well? Forgetting Spurs for a second.
Other than that, I'm great.
Cool. Next person out, Dan E from Hotspur Hood. Are you well besides Spurs?
I'm as good as I'm going to be.
Cool. My fellow host has, are you okay apart from Spurs? I saw you streaming yesterday, so well, you've got a lot to say.
I'm still alive, so yeah.
My next guest and welcome him out is the guy who always likes to take a pee out of me, but JJ, are you well?
Yeah, I'm all right. I mean, it's not like it's been a bad day, really, is it?
And last but not least, I'm going to say I'll save the best to last because I need to scratch his ego a little bit, because me and him always argue on stream, but I love him really. Harry, are you well?
Yeah, I love it. Very good, thank you. Apart from obviously Spurs, so looking forward to getting into it.
Right, because I've got so many of you, right? There's only going to be 3 topics, right? Because I think there's going to be a lot to say on these 3 topics, right? So, Ian, I'm going to start with you, right? And I'll always start with this, right? Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but the starting lineup, is that the lineup after what you saw against Forest that you would have gone with?
I wouldn't have left Højbjerg out. No, I'm not his biggest fan, particularly in this system. But the reality is our midfield has been hopelessly off form, and that's, I think, part of where the problem is. You look at Maddison since he had his injury, not done anything. Benty's struggled again since his injury. Bissouma just isn't the player he was first few weeks of the season. It's just and Sarr's been carrying a knock. I was at the game last week, and you all saw on television, I'm sure, the way we were able to control the game after the substitutions when Bentancur came on and Højbjerg. And Højbjerg was the glue that stuck the whole thing together in the second half. So I was surprised. I was surprised he brought Biss in, and I was surprised he left Højbjerg out. But, it is what it is. He did what he did. And I don't think we lost because of that, having said that. I mean, I know lots of talk about the tactics, and we'll come on to that, and talk about the formation and the way he plays and the whatever. At the end of the day, just about every goal we concede comes down to us losing possession cheaply. I mean, I know you can say, yeah, but if you lose possession cheaply, you're vulnerable on the counter. And of course you will, playing this system. But at the end of the day, it's been really careless, poor errors that have led to the goals. And it was bad today. I'll come on to Udogie maybe later. But the game against Fulham...
We'll come on to that.
You want to come on to that? Okay, that's good. I'll shut up. Let me go.
JJ, I'm going to you next. Line up. As Ian said, still not getting confused now. As Ian said, it's very surprised Højbjerg didn't start. Are you in the same camp?
I am, and to be fair, I think what annoyed me the most is one of the things that I thought we'd started to see was this getting away from just picking people by name alone, picking people because, they've done okay for me before, they're going to come good and things like that. And I thought we were starting to see that, if you think when, Johnson was getting in the games ahead of Kulusevski because he'd had a shocker, he hauled him off and he hasn't started since, and we'd seen that with other players. So I sat there and I looked and I thought, well, what are you asking of Højbjerg to do? He came on in the Forest game. To me, I felt like from a half of a match, he was probably man of the match in that game because of what he was able to bring in stability. We've known for weeks that for some reason, I don't know what it is, but Bissouma is well off it. And I don't think should have started that game. And yet we reward him. And sure enough, everybody else saw that coming. And to me, I look at, and I want to pick up something that Ian said, but I think it kind of echoes onto what I was going to say, which is the fact of, Maddison hasn't been in his best either. So why is Lo Celso not starting? Why are we turning around? Why is it that other managers, bigger managers, and we want to be this? And Ange himself said that he wants to be a title challenging team. Well, you look at it. You look at what Pep did with Foden. He scores loads of goals and then drops him. It's like, okay, you're not at it. He drops Grealish when he needs to. He drops De Bruyne when he needs to. We haven't got the same sort of players. But if we're going to turn around and seriously say this is where the club needs to be, then you can't just turn around and say to ourselves, right, okay, you've not been on it, but I know you can be. No, if you're not on it, you've got to be dropped. And it's like as well, I think, the almost personification, particularly after the last sort of few games, is also Son. Where's he been? He's been not good enough at all. And, we're going to be at a situation where, we are going to need, if I'm looking through the bench here and, we've got no strikers, so he's playing because he has to. Was Scarlett injured? I didn't realise Scarlett had been injured, and to me, and this is where, I didn't think it was going to be as bad as that, but I did look at it and go, well, there are certain players that are starting that I thought, actually, we need to turn around and look at and go, you haven't been good enough. Your performances haven't been acceptable. If you want to stay at this team, you need to perform, because I guarantee you, against Arsenal, Son will start, Maddison will start, probably be surprised if Basuma starts against them. And I guarantee if they all start and they carry on the way they're playing, I don't really expect much out of that game, to be honest.
Before I come to you, Dan, I'm going to come to Harry first. There's a reason why I've gone in this order. So, Harry, obviously, lineup, Højbjerg was missing. Højbjerg was kind of suggested there. You saw the lineup. Was you expecting the kind of result that kind of ended up happening after seeing that, or was you expecting a better performance than that?
Well, of course. I don't think anyone expected that result. I thought the Newcastle might win. I said that before the game. But when you see the lineup and Basuma, I like him. But in terms of we're talking about form, I think Justin's spot on. And I said this even when Harry Kane was at the club. We went through, and it wasn't very often at all. We went through this small period, 2 or 3 games with the Man City links where he just wasn't his best. And I said, you have to drop the player regardless of the status and what they've done for the club if it's based off performances. And Basuma shouldn't be in the team at the moment. Maddison shouldn't be in the team at the moment. Yet somehow they find a place in the team. And we knew it was going to be hard going to St James's Park. It's a hostile place to go. Last season, I know we're an awful place, but that really represented that. But the team selection didn't make it easy from the start. But of course, with that team, it's still good enough to go out there and beat Newcastle. Let's be very clear here. We're talking about a depleted Newcastle side that Eddie Howe's really struggling to put an 11 on the pitch. We're talking about him playing a winger in Jacob Murphy at right back, and they're fitting Emil Kraft at left back. He very rarely plays there. We're proper talking about like Elliot Anderson, 21-year-old. I'm sure, if they had a choice, he wouldn't even be in the squad. So, we're talking about Newcastle didn't have it easy. It seemed like the perfect opportunity for Spurs playing first, to put it right from last season, and to stretch the advantage of Aston Villa, but that really went wrong. But Marlon, I wouldn't have been surprised if we sat here discussing a loss, but it's a fact, it's a 4-0 loss. Yeah. That's the problem, and I just didn't see it coming.
Danny, I'm coming to you. Line up for you. Were any different to anybody else, or was you in the same camp? Højbjerg should have started, probably.
Højbjerg should have started. It all depends on how we want to play. If we want an out-and-out anchor man who will come back and cover the defence, Højbjerg is our only option.
Yep.
Because he's probably the best at that, and he's not even good. If we want someone who can do a bit of both, I don't see how people don't see it. It's Bentancur. I've repeated myself a million times. He'd done it for 4 years straight at Juventus. Played deep defensive midfielder, and he also played deep line playmaker.
Yep.
This is not my problem. My problem is Ange. He is the problem with games like this. His style is not good enough for the Premiership. The Premiership is too good for him and his style. Now, against certain teams, it's going to work. But every good manager has a plan B and a plan C if they need be, or they're willing to make little tweaks during the game. Ange don't. He don't. And he plays the same death style every time. I don't care if you've got AC Milan's old best team that I ever see defence-wise. Paolo Maldini, Nesta, Yakstam, Cafu. They are going to concede goals every game without fail. But what is it? 2 clean sheets in 25 now? When you go and play against a team that has got someone as fast as Gordon on there, and you've got Izzy in the middle, and you've got their other left winger, I can't remember his bloody name, who can also run. Yeah. And you still tell the defence to basically sit on the halfway line. When are people going to wake up and smell the coffee? Ange is the problem when it comes to these games because he doesn't change. We get caught over on how many naked balls on the left and the right where you might as well walk down the street with no underwear on because that is what it's like down the side. And he still don't see it. The defenders are having to open right up because there's no wing backs either side where they're inverted and up the other end. And the ball comes over and over. It's starting to show. We go 1-0 down. Does he change his team to tell them to tell you what, boys, sit back for 5 minutes, take up a bit of pressure and then go back to the system? Nope. Keep on playing that way. 2-0 down. Nothing. Half time. It's blatantly obvious that those midfielders needed to come off again. Nothing. 3-0 down. My man decides to make a sub. And people are telling me that Ange is not the problem. I ain't Ange out. He's done a very good job this year on a lot of things. But when he screwed up, he ain't just screwed up. He screwed up good and proper. And it's the same mistakes over and over and over again. And the other part of it you cannot play this way in the Premiership against all the teams. And it is the same goals getting scored against us every game without fail. It's not even the amount of chances we give away. We're one of the best at chances we don't give away. It's the quality of chances we give away where it's virtually impossible to score the goal. And the last thing I go to on it, with the amount of people saying Timo Werner in. Yeah, brilliant, mate.
Dad,
he goes and puts it over the bloody crossbar from 6 yards out.
Because Timo Werner's my next thing. It's
sorry, man. Okay.
It's quite important to why I'm keeping Timo Werner in this conversation.
I get it.
Right. Starting lineup for you, yeah. A couple of the things I know you want to talk about, we'll get to later, so don't go too much depth, right? But lineup for you, are you with everybody else? Could it have been? Could he have come in? Could Højbjerg have come in?
In the pre-match last night, I was saying we'd have played Bentancur, Sarr, and what's his name? Bentancur, Sarr, and who's the other one I said? I've got it in my head now. But I wouldn't have played Bissouma. Bentancur, Sarr, and Højbjerg. That's the three. That's the three I was thinking of. Yeah. I would have played those three because to me, you're going away to St James's Park, right? This is not an easy ground to go to. This is not, we lost 6, whatever it was last year. So you need to go there with a strong combative midfield, okay? And to me, the midfield he picked is disrespect to Newcastle because he doesn't understand the gravitation of where he's going, what game he's playing. To me, it stinks of arrogance, yeah. And then I just don't think he understands, and Dan makes a good point about the high line, right? Yeah. Because when we defend, we literally have 2 people at the back, okay? Van de Ven today, I'm not going to slay him because literally every single game this season has been almost our best player, right? But eventually he was going to have a bad game, yeah? And something was going to happen, yeah? So, and also it's inevitable because of the style we play. This was going to happen at some point. And I was one of the few people, I think, who said Newcastle win by at least 2 goals because in the pre-match I said 3-1 to Newcastle. And it's just because I could see another Fulham result because he just picks the same players, plays the same way, and I don't know why he expects this from results. I do not know why.
Okay, so my next point is, right, because this has been every show I seem to go on, every show I seem to do, we always talk about one man right now. Brennan Johnson seems to have answered his critics, right? And Ian, I'm coming to you first. But Timo Werner has split the fan base, right? Some people say sign him for 16 million. Some people are going, he's not good enough. Now, right? This has been happening for weeks, right? We actually, if we all looked at it, first 20 minutes of that game, it was even, it was 50-50, right? We had 2 chances, right? 2 chances that fell to Timo Werner. And it keeps happening this, and he doesn't put it even on target. Right now, I know a lot of people are going to go in as well when we talk about what happened today. Are going to go into Son, right, and how bad his performances were, right. But at the end of the day, look who's going to be behind him. Who's his backup? Timo Werner, right? If Timo Werner puts those chances, one of those chances away, Ian, is it a different game? Are we looking at complete different
Goals change games,
circumstances?
so absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want me to elaborate on that, but
Yeah, go on. Yeah,
I mean, I was at the game last week, and Werner was exceptional. I mean, he played really, really well. The other thing about
to be fair, I did, and I said he played well. But my problem is when you got Palace and all those games that he has missed important chances, it's going to come and bite you in the butt.
Well, what I was going on to say is, what's really important about Werner is that he absolutely gets what Ange is looking for from that wide-sided left player.
Agreed.
The places he gets into, and that knocking the ball low across the box for either the centre forward coming in or the right winger coming in off the touchline, or getting that corridor of uncertainty. And we've scored a lot of goals where the defender's got a touch in or around the 6-yard box. That's no coincidence. The problem with Werner is it's no good understanding how the manager wants to play and being able to deliver it in bits if we want to get to where we seriously want to get to. And much as it would be great if we could pick up an international player for 16 million, the reality is he isn't and is never going to be consistent enough if we genuinely want to be a top 3 challenging for titles and challenging for cups. So much as I'd like him to succeed, I think if we want to succeed, we have to go for better than Werner.
Harry, I'm going to come to you because I know you got to go soon. Me and you have gone back and forth on Werner. Right?
Oh yes,
I've explained to the reason to everybody why, and it's reasons like today, right? Why I don't want Werner, right? 60 million is a massive risk when you look at the backups of the teams that are above us. Yes, you want to know who those backups are? Who are we trying to catch?
15 million's no risk, Marlon.
It's a massive risk, and I tell you why.
Not at all.
So I tell you
why.
You
lose a non-homegrown place, Harry.
Yeah, so no.
I know.
Let me just explain to him, right? Because I said we're looking above us, right? And you've got to look who their backups are, right? So Liverpool's is Diego Jota. Werner's nowhere near his level. Yeah, Trossard. Werner is nowhere near his level.
I disagree with that. Instantly disagree.
Okay, go on. Speak. Everyone.
I think Trossard's good as an impact player, but Werner comes in and impacts the game for Tottenham with goal and assist. I think honestly the comparison would be very fair. We're talking about Arsenal who's competing for the title.
Did you just say goals? This guy's got how many goals? 2.
Trossard has like 10 goals, I think.
Yeah, and Trossard has 10 goals.
Trossard's been here the whole season. So that comparison, that in terms of goals would be unfair. We could base it since January, and for me, Werner's been the better player since January.
He'd be on 4 then, wouldn't he? If he's been here
not necessarily, it doesn't work like that because it's different fixtures. No, it doesn't work like that at all.
Go on, carry on, because you seem like you think it's not a risk. And look, we're going to be playing.
I don't even need to think twice about whether I want Werner or not. As an option off the bench,
goals, then, Harry.
I'm not answering your stupid questions, but for 15 million off the bench for me, it's a no-brainer. It's as simple as that. I don't need to think about it.
But he's not going to come off the bench because there's going to be times like today he's going to have to play because
I think that's okay.
Because if say Son's our left winger, right, and he's not playing very well and he needs to be dropped, do you trust Werner to come in game after game and be doing what he's doing today? So you'd rather take these 4-0 where he's not putting chances.
I think he's a consistent performer. He's just not a consistent goal scorer. But hopefully that can be worked on. Absolutely. I think that we all knew when he's come to Tottenham that he's not great at finishing, but I hope that can be worked on.
Mate, it's just comical what you're saying. He done all right at Leipzig when he was there first off. Respect. I didn't know you was there to pronounce things for me. Yeah, wind it in a bit.
Keep going. Then I hadn't finished what I was saying. But
there with that one, he goes Chelsea has an all right season, and then after that, Chelsea just think this man can't kick it, income, love, nor money. Go and stick him back at his other club, Leipzig, or whatever you want me to call it. Yeah, pronounce it properly. And then he sits on the bench the whole time, scores 2 or 3 goals there, and he goes for sale for 15 million. That says it all. That 15 million could get spent on another 40 million towards a better player. You know what we're like when it comes to buying players and that. If we want to win things, Werner is not a player we need. On the ball, he's good. Pace, he's good. He's got the bottle to take it on. Can my man finish? He cannot do it. He can't do it. You have to give him about 10 or 15 chances to put it in the back of the net once. And if we need our wingers to score at least 10 plus goals a season, when did he last do that? Apart from his first season at Chelsea, he's not good enough for what we need, especially without a striker.
Justin, let me bring you in on this as well, because obviously, the whole point of this debate is because first 20 minutes, let's be honest, it was even. We didn't expect the collapse to happen. Werner has 2 great chances. Would you, at this present moment, go, actually, these missed chances are going to cost us if we end up buying this player?
I think there's 2 ways of looking at this, and this is where I get everybody's argument around the Werner situation. Okay,
can bring some balance to it. Go on.
Yeah, but the whole point, if we're in a situation where Tottenham had, let's say for example, Tottenham had the perfect squad, and basically, everything else was fine, and there wasn't any issues apart from Werner, then yes, I get it. I do. I understand he isn't good enough for what we need to be. But the problem for me is that where we are starting to look at it now, and when you look at what, the priorities are, and this is where I think we are at a club where we will not go and spend stupid money that we need to spend for what is ultimately the end goal here, right? To me, that sadly is a deal that I believe Tottenham will take, and I can see why they would take, because, and I get what people say, that this is money that could go elsewhere. The problem being is that in an ideal world, yes, it would go somewhere else. It ultimately would, but this isn't Tottenham. They're not going to do that. They're not going to turn around and go and get all these different players that we're talking about that we need. So almost what you're looking for is the fact that what is the most important. Now, when you look at Werner on that left against what we have at the moment, so I'm not talking about what is out there in the market, I'm talking about what is there at the moment. He's probably the best option that we have, because I don't feel that last season we got as much as we should have done out of Son. And as we've talked about, Son hasn't been his best for a while, okay? And we're starting to see it now up top. So we have to sort of almost face reality about, okay, well, what is going to be the biggest issues that we have here, okay? And to me, I look at it and I think that sadly now a number 6 has, become an issue, because I think Basuma and Højbjerg are not the long-term solution. So a number 6 has to come in there. I think we need to have competition for Maddison, because of the fact that, we need somebody when he is having his off games to go into that position. And for me, I think a striker has now become more and more imperative, because that game highlights why, for me, I think they will make that deal. Because the fact of it being is if somebody turns around to me and says, okay, you're going to have to get Werner, but it means you are going to go big for, I don't know, Vlahovic or an Ivan Toney or Dominic
65 million for Richarlison.
Well, we can argue about Tottenham's recruitment. That's neither here nor there, because do I think we should sign Richarlison? I sat there and was like, why did we not go for Anthony Gordon? I'd rather Anthony Gordon, as he proved today. That was a better option for Tottenham. But ultimately, we could argue about Tottenham's recruitment till the cows come home. The fact of it being is that we know full well that Tottenham are not going to go big in all these different areas.
But Justin, isn't that the problem in itself?
Okay, but that isn't going to change. We can sit here, and we can turn around about that, because we know where that issue goes down, and that isn't going to go anywhere unless what they have been saying, which is that we get additional funding, they sell off part of the club, or this some sheikh comes in and buys it in. That isn't going to change. We've had this conversation. I mean, I've been having this conversation ever since they walked through the door. This is something that isn't new. We could go back to when we had Berbatov and Keane and came back with Fraser Campbell, right? We've seen this year after year after year. So we have to be realistic. We're not going to do what the owners, to be fair, should be doing. They're not going to do that. They've turned around. Business will come first, football will come second. So realistically, we have to look at the fact, and I think that's why I found it quite ironic that, you know, Ange is talking about wanting to get to the title, because I don't think he's going to be getting to the title anywhere near with this football club, really, until we get new owners. But the fact of it being is that in an ideal world, no, we don't sign Werner. We sign much better than Werner. However, what he offered against what we have and the areas that have now become more of a priority, I think he will be signed.
Okay, before I bring in Harry's got to go. Please make sure anyone who's watching goes over to Scarfy Talks to go and subscribe, all that stuff. You do it because you're better at this than me.
That's all right. No, thank you very much for having me once again. Yeah, that's it. You can find me obviously every Friday here with Haz and TJ, usually long streams debating. We seem to go round and round and round. So yeah, look forward to that. You can find me this Sunday, 7 PM, Heartlane Podcast. You got my channel as well, Scarfy Spurs for England, Premier League and Tottenham content, including the Premier League show and a new Thursday morning show hosted by Chris, who's in the chat, Meta TV earlier. So thank you very much for having me. I'm gonna jump now.
See you later. Have a great one.
See you later. Cheers, Marlon. Thank you. Cheers. See you later. Cheers.
Haz, right? We're not going to talk about Werner. I want to now get into... No, we're not. No, because there's no point with you. If anyone wants to go hear your opinion, go on a Friday. So let's get into it now. Let's get into what actually happened. First goal goes in. Where does it all suddenly go wrong? Why do we suddenly concede 2 goals straight away, and then a third, and then the fourth eventually goes in from a set piece?
But we've seen this happen so many times this season. I don't know why people are acting surprised.
Every game.
Yeah.
Every game, it's the same goals. Every game, we at least concede 1 or 2 of the same goals that we've conceded for 25 games.
Either off a set piece or a counter attack, it's literally exactly the same.
So, a question for you then, right? Because obviously, it's a defensive issue, right? There's a defensive.
It's
issue.
It's not actually the defenders themselves. Like on paper,
this is where my question was going, right? Because when we look at it, as all of us, I think all of us have said all season, right? And I think I've heard this week on week. Our front three's not clicking, right? But yet we've scored the 5th most amount of goals in the league. But yet we're conceding so many, but all of us like our defense. So what's the actual issue here?
And just tactics, clearly.
So
let's just be brutal. This guy doesn't have a clue what he's doing.
So is it a case, right? Because how I'm looking at it, right, and I want to come to Ian after it, because obviously he's watched Ange at Celtic, and I know a lot of people going, that's the Scottish League and this, that, and the other, right? Is it a case of then with Ange, he doesn't have the players to play this system?
No, I disagree.
So do you think he does have the players?
He doesn't have all the players specifically. Like I think he could have a better, like we mentioned, a better number 6 or a better front 3 in terms of quality of goals. But we'll just be scoring more goals. I don't think this number 6 that comes in will immediately solve all our defensive issues of conceding 49 goals. Okay. Because at the end of the day, we basically play with 7 up top or something, 8 up top, 2 at the back, pretty much all game. And then we're surprised when a team hits us on a counter with like 3 wingers or 3 fast players and scores a goal. Because the amount of times today where Isak and Gordon, or Isak and Barnes, or Barnes and Gordon, whatever combination of the 3 you want to put, we're left 2-on-2 with Romero and Van de Ven. I lost count literally all game. Yep. Yeah, when we had them pressed up and they hit us on a counter. As a set pieces, it's on Ange as well, because he picked Mason, or accepted Mason. We don't know which one it is. Everyone's still confused. Well. And I'll bring this up because Conte had a different set piece coach who was there at the time, and apparently they didn't get on. Ange didn't get on.
Ange didn't get on.
The Italian guy, I can't remember his name. Sorry. VR. So that's on Ange. He's picking these people to do the set pieces. Again, Dyer made a comment midweek saying this guy doesn't really practice tactics. Well, here you go. This is a result of it.
I'd be totally honest, right? If Dyer's coming out with something, I'm kind of like, I do get it, right? But I'm also at the same, you are coming out with something that's really bitter because the man won't pick you.
Don't get me wrong. I hate Dyer most anyone.
You get where I'm coming from, right?
Yeah.
You get where I'm coming from.
For a player to come out and say that, I think it says a lot, to be honest.
Ian, Celtic, come on. Explain to these guys.
It's beyond Celtic. It's right. Let's have a look at Ange's career for those of you that haven't followed it. Good things are bad things. Bad things, this is how he plays. And he ain't going to change it, and he ain't going to change it for us. This is how he plays. He plays four. He plays a hold and effectively 2 number 8s and three forwards coming in off the sides. That's how he plays. It's worked. Now, it's worked for him in Australia. It's worked for him in Japan. It's worked for him in Scotland.
But Ian, this is a much higher level.
Let me finish. Let me finish, please.
Sorry.
Whether it will work in England is of course another question, because the managers, the coaches, the players are of another level to what he's used to. We know that. But so let's go back to when he was in Australia. He went to Melbourne. He took the team, and his first thing he did was he dumped Harry Kewell, he dumped Craig Moore, Australia captain, and what have you, and brought in his own players, won the league. Went to Japan, can't remember the name of the city he was in. First season, he was almost relegated. And remember, a lot of people on social media, when we appointed Ange, were saying we were in a relegation dogfight, the club was finished, etc. So let's not forget that. Nearly got relegated in his first season, brought in his own players in the second summer, won the league. Scotland inherited a side from Neil Lennon that had fallen apart. Not dissimilar to the Conte side. Rangers had won the league. I can't remember. It was 21 points, 22, whatever. It was 20 odd points. He won the league the following season, brought in his own players, many of them from the Far East who he would have known, and won the league by 3 or 4 points the following season, about a 25% turnaround. So that's the good, and it takes him time, but he is ruthless, and we haven't seen the ruthless side of him yet.
Twice. When he took off Kulu at half time, and last week against Forest where he made the 2 subs quite early.
That was a good call.
Yeah.
Marlon, I'm not talking about substituting players. I'm talking about a lot of players being put out the club in the. I think this is for you. People are going to be shocked at the number of players that are put out of the club that people are not expecting, and Decky, I think, will be one of them. You don't think?
Not with Levy.
Okay, Levy. Then I think he'll fail.
Levy is the word. Levy says no, it don't happen.
Yeah.
I don't think. Well, hang on.
Levy's a big problem.
If that's where we get to, and we end up being in mid-table by next season, and Ange goes, and we have to get somebody else in, and you go, how many times are we going to go through this? Just quickly, can I pick up on one point that JJ said? Because I think when the financials came out, and Levy came out and said we are looking to expand the equity base to improve the team and other areas of the company. Now, the fact that he came out with that would suggest to me that a deal was fairly close. I would imagine they won't be selling less than 25%, and that's new shares. That means it's an input into the club. So this is a defining summer for us. But I am really hopeful that what Levy said with, expanding the equity base, more shares, ENIC being diluted, that there will be some serious money for Ange to bring in the players. But the reality is that we could talk about the tactics and what have you, and the tactics are open. But the reality is, as I said at the beginning, every goal comes down to players, individual players making bad choices. Udogi's
told to be in bad positions.
Sorry?
Or being told to be in bad positions, like putting your centre-backs on the halfway line.
I get that, Dan, but that's the tactics we've got.
But that's bad tactics then.
So that's how you fix the problem, isn't it? When there's a problem and you can see there's a problem.
Well, then you say you're not Ange out, then you really are Ange out. You're just saying you're Ange out.
Let's finish. Let Ian finish, and I'll come. Dan and Haz, let Ian finish, and I'll come to you, and then you just take all the points down that Ian has said and come back and rebuttal. Let Ian finish, because that's why. And
yeah, I mean, I'm nearly done. I've nearly done. The reality,
I know you were. That's why I want you to finish. Go on.
The goals have come from individual errors. and giving the ball away. Hello, Brian. In cheap areas. And yes, the lack of cover has been a problem. But if you don't give the ball away as badly as we're giving it away in those areas, you don't concede those goals.
Dan, I'm going to let you come in now because obviously you've heard what Ian says, and you obviously disagree. Where do you sit on all this? Because obviously 4-0 was a really bad scoreline in the end.
I totally get what you're saying. Get better players, you can play a better game. The Premiership is too good for Ange, for that style to play against every team the same way. This is, I feel, where a lot of people misunderstand what I'm saying. You cannot play this way against every team. And he only has one system. He's not willing to change for no one, by his words. Right. Now, how do you sort out a problem? Seeing as we're not all professional managers, we wouldn't have a clue what we're on about anyway, would we? Like some people like to say. But then anyone who wants to make that comment can't make that comment because they're not a professional manager either. So they can wind their neck in with that as well. So when it comes to that, and I can blatantly sit there with my wife, who has only just learned what the offside rule is, and sit there and scratch her head and say, why is every player standing in the opposite half? And then next thing you know, bang, straight over the top, is it down the middle, bangs it in the back of the net. It don't take Einstein to work this stuff out. Now, if Ange is going to stick to this way, I totally get it. He has done really good so far, yeah, by getting us 4th place, 5th place, even 6th if it goes, yeah. But I can only go by what I judge by each game. If he does not change his style, you could put that Barcelona team out there that was untouchable. You're still going to concede goals. Ange wants to go for the league. That style of play, you're still going to concede too many goals to win a league. It is just too open for the Premiership. Even down to the point, I don't dig the inverted wing backs, but each to their own on that one. They're usually up at the halfway line to the point that when they have to come back, one of them's having to go wide out to the other side. The other one has to come in the middle, and we're totally naked on the other side. Or they've both gone out wide and we're open in the middle. If Ange don't see this and realise that something is going wrong after 20 minutes and he should make a little tweak, or has to wait until we're 3-0 down before he goes and makes 3 subs, and then takes Son off the pitch, weren't having a good game, but he didn't get the ball because we need to score 3 goals, so we take our main goal scorer off. I'm sorry, the man he's one of 2 things. He's either bloody naive or ignorance is bliss. I don't want him out. I want him to do well. But there's a lot of things I've seen that he needs to change on. Otherwise, we're going nowhere fast.
Just before I come to you, Justin, because I want to get your take on it next. But thank you, thank you for the super chat. It said, everyone keeps talking about number 6, the way Ange sets up the team, we need Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four. Justin, I'll let you come in after that super chat and kind of where are you sitting on this whole tactics stuff with him? Because everyone else has got different opinions. As you saw, Ian's with, players are needed for it. Dan's kind of in the situation of, okay, when the players are not there and you kind of can see it, we're too far forward. The Premier League going to literally eat you up with these tactics. Where do you sit on it?
I think, to be fair, the difficulty we're going to have is it doesn't really matter half the time who we have in charge, because unless everything is situated to that manager, it's just not going to work. As we've seen time and time again, we got a semi-decent tune out of Pochettino for a few years, and then eventually, the owners got bored of him. We got a slight mini tune out of Mourinho until they realised they weren't going to put up with that, and then we got a slight tune out of Conte. Now, the thing with this whole situation with Ange, and I do slightly disagree. If it was Barcelona, they wouldn't concede to the level that we do. And when you look at managers who have come in before, the likes of Klopp and Pep, when you look at the teams they started with to where they are now, they are completely chalk and cheese. So I think the interesting part is going to be what does happen in the summer, if they are serious about backing this guy. Because if they are going to continue like they have done, because at the moment he is in the same position as the likes of Conte was, as like Mourinho and Pochettino, where it's been, I'll give you bits of it. I won't give you all of it, but I'll give you bits of it. And I do get what Dan is saying about that his tactics won't work. I don't think it would if he is only going to be given players that they think will suit it. And this has always been the biggest issue at our football club. It is people higher than the managers, higher than the, you know, everybody involved in there, who will look at it and go, yeah, well, we could have Skriniar, but we'll go with Joe Rodon. Or we could have this player, but we'll have this one instead. It's always been the knockoff alternative in terms of that. And I think this is where, you know, we need to see, and we started to see it, to be fair. You know, if you look at in the summer, a lot of the deadwood did leave. Okay. I still think there is more to go. And I think this club needs to really look at, because there were players that were starting today that wouldn't even get into the Newcastle team. You know, if you look at it, that front three itself, okay, the fact of it being is that front three, I don't think is as good as Newcastle's. So to me, I look at that and I think this is something that come the summer, we need to ultimately now decide, are we all in with Ange or not? Because if we're going to go all in, fine, we have to, you know, we don't have the excuse now. We've got players that are out on loan, or, you know, that we can get money for. We're at a point now where PSR or whatever we want to call it is now working for us. So it shouldn't be any more of these excuses that Tottenham keep on coming up with. They should be able to compete. They should be able to do this. We know that we've said before they should, but I think excuses now, hopefully by most of the fan base, will start to wear thin. As a lot of people know, I've been wanting these owners out from the moment they walk through the door, but this is who we've got and we have to live with them. So, but I'm just hoping if next season we are seeing similar games with similar players that aren't wanted or are having to be sort of shoehorned in because they aren't what the manager wants, then actually when we look at it, hopefully more and more will actually start turning up to these protests, unlike the supporters trusts who set them up and can't be bothered.
So before I bring Brian in, and welcome to the show, Brian, I've got a question for you, right? Because obviously people go back and listen to your opinions about tactics and stuff, but I've got one for you. And I'm going to quote Ian because he said this. He said it to me via WhatsApp when we appointed Ange, right? But he said it earlier in one of my earlier shows, when we had Ange during the beginning. And he basically said, look, right, there's going to be some games this season where we are going to be absolutely battered, right? But we have to just keep going with what Ange wants until the end of the season, right? And a lot of us, when Kane left, thought we'd be, mid-table? So is this now that moment, because of how the first 10 games went, and then we had an excuse of the injuries, right? There's no excuses now. This is the time when we've got all our players back and we're going, we're going to have to take some rough and we're going to take it with the smooth. Because we were like Villa a couple of weeks ago, we were all singing these praises, right? But all of a sudden we've had
not necessarily.
A lot of people were, let's be honest, a lot of people
not me. Because for me, I think it's context. Because Villa did play midweek before they played us, and they
did change their formation. And I did warn people, but
at the last minute they changed, wasn't it?
Yeah. But we're going to have basically. My question is, we're going to have ups and downs. It's just part of one of the downs we're going to have this season because we are in a transitional period.
Yeah. Whilst I do take your points, I'm going to make a good point here. So I look at, say, for example, Arteta's first season, Arsenal, he didn't have the players he wanted. So what did he do? He changed to a back five and he played a different way, okay? And Ange, the difference, I think, with Ange and Arteta is obviously Ange has come in, but he's a lot older. He's 56, okay? He's got more weight. Can I get to my point, please? Sorry.
Because you mentioned something, and I'm like, okay, but...
And I'd argue Ange has the defenders he wants, right, in his back line. So we shouldn't be conceding this number of goals compared to last season, compared to the Conte's back line with Dyer, Davies, whoever else. Emerson. I'm sorry, we should be conceding this amount of goals, So, like I said, I compare it to Arteta because he didn't have the defenders, he had to adapt in that way, Now, we could score more goals next season with better front line, no doubt. Even though I think we all agreed that we're going to sign Werner, we're probably not score that many much more. So, is that much going to really change? Really, we might score more goals, but we're still going to concede similar, if not maybe maybe more goals next season because of the amount of the games. So it comes down to the fact that this manager, which what I don't like is he doesn't adapt. At all. It's not even just like he adapted game right. Just adapt at all.
So quick 2 points that you said, Ryan. You can answer them.
Yeah.
Because before I bring Brian in, so you said about change. Arteta did change his formation. Yeah, I do remember, but he wasn't as Look, let's be honest. When he changed it, it's not like they were any better than they finished 8th and 8th.
They did win the FA Cup though.
Yeah, I know we always say it's with Emery's squad, and he only had like 3 games.
But then you can say that Ange rested like 9 players in the Carabao.
I get the cup. Look, I get the cups, but let's talk about the league for a second, right? Because he did. I totally agree with you. He changed it the season after because they didn't have the players to do it, right? Because he went and sent Saliba back out on loan.
I'm saying he adapted to what he had, right?
Yeah, but
and it's like Ange's adapted to what he had.
Yeah, but he didn't work.
And all right, we're playing this way.
Okay, but
we'll get battered.
What I'm trying to say is it didn't work for him. Right, now I forgot my second point.
Arteta had a better team as well. I mean, not Arteta, sorry. Ange has had a significantly better team than what Arteta started off with.
But you just said something earlier, right? As well, if we had better strikers, and a better forward line, then we'd still be conceding goals. But I said my question earlier was if Werner puts that goal in, instead of missing it, if we are 1-0 up. Does that not change how Newcastle and actually feed into
I don't think
the way we want to play?
3-1, so it don't make a difference for me.
Okay, Brian.
Yes, Marlon.
I haven't heard your We Are Tottenham TV, so I'd be totally honest. So, but how did you take the whole? So we've spoke about Werner's miss, we've spoke about the lineup, but we're now on the tactics of Ange. Where do you sit on all of this?
So first of all, hello to everyone on the panel and everyone in the chat. Always a pleasure to be on the screen with all of you. And Ian, my dear friend, it's always good to see you, brother. So the way I said this is I did go mad on We Are Tottenham TV, but it wasn't where you think it was. I didn't go, Levy this and Levy to play because he's got there's nothing. Even I can say this is nothing to do with him. Say, no, absolutely.
Didn't mention him on my show either, mate.
100%, Brian. 100%.
Nothing to do with him. As much as listen, everyone on this panel and in the chat will know I will blame everything. 6 degrees of separation. I'll find a way to get it back to Levy. But this had nothing to do with it. What I would say, what I did say first of all, is this fan base needs to take a long, hard look at itself. And the reason I said that, not Levy in, Levy out, or anything like that. I'm sick and tired of people saying, Newcastle are decimated with injuries. We're going to batter them. They've been so messed up with injuries. We spent so much time focusing on who they had out. We paid no respect to the players they had in.
Yes.
Thank you.
Their front line.
Was better than us.
We were linked with Harvey Barnes. I'll take him at Spurs in a heartbeat. We were linked with Anthony Gordon. Didn't want him when the transfer went to Everton. But his transformation since he's gone to Newcastle has been huge. Isaac, I would chuck everything I could to get him at the football club.
That's who I wanted.
We were absolutely... I was on We Are Tottenham TV after the Forest game and Ian said he was there. The one thing I've been saying the last few weeks is I feel that for the first 10 games of the season or the after the first game when it was Bassouma, Sarr, Maddison... It looked like the trilogy was set. We had a midfield that just looked like it had every tool you wanted to try and chuck at us. There's an answer. We knew how to combat it. But right now, he just cannot get that right combination, no matter what it is. And that doesn't excuse it. It happened again today. But for today's game, the defence didn't talk to the midfield. The midfield didn't have a clue what the strike force was doing. And most importantly, what I said to me, and I don't know how other people feel, this result is more embarrassing than the 6-1. Because the 6-1, it was Stellini. The 6-1, we had Dyers, we had Lloris. That team was a shambles, and we're falling to pieces. Forget how Levy out and the whole toxic fan base. That on the pitch was fragmented. It was discussed. You saw that lineup today. And before a ball was kicked, I was like, do you know what? That's a team that could do something. That's pretty much, maybe not a full strength team, but as full as you're going to get it. I wouldn't complain compared to when we had the injury crisis. And then that was, I was thinking that you go into this game today And if I'm a Spurs player, a Spurs manager, Spurs coaching staff, Spurs board, anyone that's associated with the club minus the fans, all you'd have in your head right now as a team talking motivation is we need to right the wrongs of last season, revenge, and let's put something on for these fans that have either got up at the crack of dawn or travelled up the night before and spent money to stay there. Let's put on a performance to make them proud. Sorry, I'm using Nuno's terminology here. But let's right the wrongs. And they did exactly the opposite. It was absolutely shambolic. And every single... And I will say, when it comes to Ange, I'm a big Ange advocate. And the guy in the top left, and you mentioned, Marlon, when you spoke to Ian, the very second Conte went out, me and Ian spoke regularly, and he was Ange. And I do love him. I think he's brilliant. I hope he gets time to perform his vision. I hope at the end of the season he does get a kitty and gets the players come in. That's a different subject to what I think will happen. But I have faith in him getting it right. But he needs the right players.
Okay.
But what I will say is on these performances, and I understand he has a philosophy. I understand he has a format of playing. But there's got to be something where he says, you know what, for 15 minutes, just drop back. We're under siege. Just for 10, 15, steady the ship. Steady the ship just for 10, 15 minutes.
Exactly.
And set pieces. We've gone set pieces. I think Ian and I can go back, and JJ, who are older than we can go back. Martin Yole set pieces was a problem. Terry Venables set pieces was a problem. It's been an ongoing issue, and the only time it was decent is when Antonio Conte had his set piece coach, and then we sacked Antonio Conte, keep Stellini, but get rid of the set piece coach, and now we have. I don't know why Spurs can't identify that the set pieces has been atrocious for years and we need it addressing. But like I said, I've got full faith in Ange. I am questioning sometimes what he's doing, like the subs he made against Nottingham Forest. Bang. Bentancur, Højbjerg, come on, completely changed that game. Immaculate. I think some of those changes should have been done at half time.
Yep.
He held off. Porro, I've seen in the medical, I've seen a release from his statement or his press conference saying Porro had a knock during the first half, but we thought we'd go run it for the second time and see what could happen in the second half. We've done this twice with Porro now. If he's injured or he's got a knock with Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool coming up, off you go. But we did, and these subs were done, like Dan was saying, weren't done at 2-0. We're done at 3-0. And those are the little tweaks I want to see. But do I have faith in Ange? Do I stand by Ange? I do, but he's got to make some changes at times. Can
I make a quick point before you go to the other thing? The other thing about Ange that I'm finding very frustrating is that when your team is playing as diabolical as that, and your captain's pretty much useless for spurring the team up as such, and he's just standing there, my man might as well have a cigar and a straw hat on. Tell me I'm wrong. Someone tell me for a fact I'm wrong. Up to 3-0, he's still standing there like that, not budging nothing, not saying nothing. When the players are that crap, it should be, come on, boys, get your act together, start telling them. No, he stands there and he might as well have a beer as well with his straw hat. Different opinions on managers, I know. But if it's going crap, your manager needs to tell you, and so does your captain. Neither of them do that job. Make me wrong.
100%, mate. 100%.
Yeah, I agree. We haven't got leadership on the pitch, and we didn't have it with Kane. I can't remember who was the last real leader we had on the pitch.
Ledley King, maybe.
Not even Ledley.
I mean, a long while ago. Just very quickly, the other thing that worries me when we're defending set pieces, we don't have any height in the team.
That's what Joe Sheen was bought for, and he doesn't play. Well, JJ, hold on, because JJ has to go. JJ, before you go, and I want to say thank you to Baby B for this super chat, right? But actually, I'm going to finish off on this with everybody, right? As fans, are we as good as fans think we are?
Nope.
Hell no.
Absolutely not. No, we're not. And I think the problem being is that we went into the season with very low expectations. We caught a lot of teams off guard. I think very, very surprising with the way that we set out. We got found out against, Chelsea, and obviously, it was a crazy game. But I think the key part with where we're at is that we have got hopefully the start. And I know we've been down this route before and I'm thinking more to Pochettino. It was never going to work with Conte or Mourinho. Anyone who thought that is just living in cloud cuckoo land. It was never going to work. But Pochettino had the starts of that. But this is where the club really needs to decide if it's going to continue this on. Because if it is going to continue this on, then they have to go big in hopefully more areas. I know that we talked about Son and Werner, but if they're serious about it, we go big in that position. We go big up top. We go big for number 6. We go big in the playmaker areas and things like that. We actually build a squad that if somebody is not good enough or if somebody is having a poor game, we don't turn around to them and go, it's okay. You haven't scored in God knows how long, but we'll just keep playing you because of the name that you have. Or, you haven't been good enough, but you were good at the beginning, but you're not good now. So we're still going to keep picking you. No, it needs to be, if you're not good enough, you'll sit on the bench. And if you continue to not be good enough, you'll be out the club. We've started to see it because, I know that we talked about last season with some of the players that we did have. Most of them are out the door. As I said, Sanchez is gone. You look at Tanganga's out the door. He will be out the door. But you look at Eric Dyer, Hugo Lloris, players like that are now out the door. And this is something the club needs to continue doing with, the likes of, Brian Hill, Emerson Royale, Joe Rodon, making sure that they're not just out the door, they stay out the door. Because if we're finding that come next season that any of those players are still at the club, then the club won't have progressed. It will have gone backwards and we will probably finish top 10 if we're lucky, because we haven't replaced some of the players that we let out the door in terms of like Harry Kane. And if we haven't replaced him, then we're just showing that ultimately, again, we have continued to be what we've always been, which is a sideshow for the business venture.
JJ, thank you. I'll let you go.
Thank
Ian,
you, guys.
I'm coming
JJ.
to you next.
Cheers. Take care, everyone.
Please find
Cheers,
JJ.
Gallagher.
Yeah.
We actually defended better with Davis and Royale in the middle.
I did question this a few weeks ago, but let me come to Ian, and then Dan, you can finish off as well. Go on, Ian. Are we as good as we think we are?
Sometimes. I think
I love that.
When we're like the little boy in the nursery rhyme. When we're good, we're very, very good, and when we're bad, we're horrid. Look, a lot of people were thinking we would be bottom half this season. We've done a lot better than that. We played some really good football, scored some great goals, but there are times when we are so naive, make such daft mistakes that I get embarrassed as the big Ange fan from what I've seen. This is a big summer. It's a big summer for Levy, because I genuinely think people like Brian have got to Levy in terms of the fact that there's demonstrations against him. I think he's very conscious of the fact that there is that group. I also suspect he knows in his heart of hearts, for all the money that ENIC made and that he's made, that his legacy at the club is something that will be permanently remembered. And if he leaves the club without winning one League Cup in 115 years, that's not something I think he wants on his record. This is a big turning point this summer for the club, because I think if we don't back a manager again, we sack a manager again, we don't buy the players that we need to develop, then I think the mood will turn toxic again. It's been good this season because people have genuinely got behind the club and the players. But unless there's a big summer incoming, I think I can see it turning toxic fairly quickly next year.
Dan, go on.
Right. Ange had the easiest job a football manager has ever had in history. Now, when you come into a club as destroyed as Spurs, not easy, all that side. One of the hardest sides I've always seen is winning over the fan base because they're so destroyed. He had the easiest job anyone has ever had. I could have done this job and won Spurs over the fan base. All right, boys, go out, kick the ball forward most of the time and play attacking football. Bang, there you go, 90% of fans on your side. Easiest job ever. Any one of us could have pulled that trick. Yes, the other ones are hard, but that one, winning over the fans, easy as you could get. He's got to adapt, mate. He's got to try it. You can't... I mean, what was it Eric Dyer even said? They don't... all they do is practice Ange's way. They don't practice tactics for the next game. Every team is slightly different, but there's certain teams where you've got to have a different idea for different places. But in that aspect, what I said earlier, he had the easiest job a manager has ever had, winning that fan base that was so toxic. But if we start continuing like this, people are going to start questioning him. I don't see a problem in questioning the manager when he's making cock-ups that not even I would have made. No, I'm not a professional manager, but I realised at half-time it went tits up and we needed to make a sub. He waits till we're 3-0 down. I don't know, maybe I should be a professional manager.
Yeah, I'm going to finish on Brian with the last say because he's an important man to me.
Thanks.
Because we love Jan Vertonghen.
Yeah, because we've got that Jan Vertonghen love at the moment. But yeah, go on.
What was it? Are fans as good as we think we are?
Are we as good as we think we are? And actually, fourth is probably, fifth. We're quite lucky to be where we are.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I'm going to go back to United and Chelsea and some other teams who we all expect United to be better this season. They aren't. We expect Chelsea to be better this season. They're not. So that's two teams out, the traditional top six that are out. And obviously Villa have emerged as like a team to challenge for the fourth place now. So we're kind of where I expect us to be because we do have better defence than last season on paper. We do have some better players. Like we've kind of filled in some positions. And it can't be as bad as Dyer, Emerson, blah, 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 we had last season. Like he did get some players out and bring some decent players in. But in reality, Van der Ven's literally holding that back line together on his own.
As soon as he goes, it falls to pieces.
Yeah. So as long as Van der Ven stays fit, we're all right. If he's not, then forget it. But yeah, in terms of Ange, I agree with Dan. And the reason I agree with him is because loads of YouTubers last season were saying, oh, we just want to see attacking football. That's what I kept watching, right? In the end of the season. We just want to see attacking football. So it's pretty easy for Ange to come in and say, oh, just play it, like Dan said, just play the ball forward. Everyone's happy now.
Yeah. No,
and I agree with Dan because I go to games on a season ticket holder. Most of the day outers, if you want to lay there more than that or something like that, they'll just say, oh, I just want to see attacking football. They don't just want, they just want entertainment. That's the phrase I hear. They don't want to see us.
Which, to be fair, they haven't been getting for the last couple of months.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is just, what I'm saying, because the standard was so low for him to succeed in his first season, in a sense, we're getting exactly what we asked for. Not me specifically, but the fan base exactly what they asked for, just attacking football. Well, there you go. But then now you complain that we're not defending well enough. Well, I hope you're not the same people. So it's doing that. But yeah, I mean, I think our fans overrate our players. They've always overrated our players. So to me, it's no surprise.
Brian, Tottenham on tour.
Yes,
last
brother.
Word.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the question was, are we as big as what we think we are? Well, first of all, I'm going a bit of a monologue here, and I've got some examples. But before I go on this monologue, let's just say I want to say about EMF. This man deserves so much respect and credit because this man comes on who is not Levy out, will come on to predominantly Levy out channels, and will speak his mind articulately, respectfully, and will even call out when it's out. We have a lot of people that won't come on shows because they give it the mouth on the chat or whatever, but won't come on, or they're scared that we're going to jump them or whatever. Ian was the very first one to do it on a channel I won't even mention for certain reasons. But this man, honestly, and I don't just say that because I've become dear friends with him, he deserves a lot of respect because he respects where I come from. And we've debated and we've got heated a couple of times. but there's always a mutual respect. There is always a step back, and people need to realise how good this man is and what he does and when he comes on. Now getting on to are we big as we think we are?
I can't top that, Ian. I'm sorry.
I'm going to bring up something, and I'm upset a bit that he's not here because I'd say it to his face anyway. I want to talk about Harry Scarf's comment about Trossard and Werner. Now, I'm not Werner in or Werner out. When we signed him, I thought very shrewd bit of business. I thought it was Son's going away from Asia. He's on the left wing. If he can get the form back, he's got speed, which is Ange wants. I could see it all. We were going for Trossard because we're the big club and we've got high expectations and we've got Ange. We had Conte at the time. We came in with a shocking low ball offer like we always do at 12 million. I went to Spurs Man City with Ben Daniel from We Are Tottenham TV. The 4-2 Man City game we lost after the North London derby or before it. We all know it, the 4-2. Ben picked me up in North London. Arsenal had put the bid in. We hadn't got to Birmingham. There was a here we go. Me and Ian had a bet on this window about Dragusin and how quick he'd be signed. And when he comes to Toronto in a few months, he owes me an alcohol free. Because it was like, we'll have it done by Wednesday. Obviously, it didn't. Then you want to talk, Harry wants to talk about, oh, yeah, I'd definitely have him over Trossard. I can go over Trossard's last 2 weeks. He comes on as a substitute against Brighton. 1-on-1, puts that away. Under pressure, they're going for the league. Timo Werner, 1-on-1s. What have we done? This week just gone, he comes off the bench in the European Champions League, knockout. They're 2-1 down, 1 attempt, 1 shot, equaliser. I don't see that from Timo Werner. Would I have rather now, if they were both up in the air, would I pay 15 for Werner or 27 for Trossard? I'm paying 27 million all the goddamn time. And the thing that goes on that's getting with me every single time right now is I went on a stream yesterday, and Dan has heard me say this many a time. I do not want Spurs to get in Champions League football. I do not want it. We get into the Champions League. When we've been in it, have we signed one elite Champions League peak of his powers players? No. The only one you could kind of say is Perisic, Champions League worthy. He was on the decline. So we don't use the money. We'll get to hear the champions. We'll get battered. We'll get humiliated. We'll get knocked out, but it's okay. I want to be in the Europa League so the youth team can play together and we can see what they've got. Don't take a full team so we can challenge on domestic tournaments. We can't. We're not ready for the Champions League. As a football club, of course, I want to see us in the Champions League. As a football club, we haven't got the squad. But we can't play one game a week. We cannot play one game a week at the moment. And you want to play Champions League? Well, we're going to have to play strongest team in the Premier League, strongest team in the Champions League. Fans have got to listen. Tottenham Hotspur are a humongous football club. We have a humongous heritage. We have a lot of history behind us. We are a behemoth of a football club in history, in the grand scheme of things. Right now, are we one of the elite football clubs? No, we're not. No, we're not. Do I think Ange Postecoglou has the nucleus and the squad that's? I said to that with Dan when we were off when we finished the stream. I said, do you know what? If Spurs went out this window and bought Eze, Isaac, Paulinho, and a left-sided centre back. Right now, I would say we're challenging for the league. Maybe not win it, but we're only a few players away from getting it. But it's a few absolute gem of players, not a quantity over quality. We have the skeleton building to become a big team, to be competing. But we're just not there yet. We're just not there yet, and we've got to stop. All I say that we've been doing at the moment is we rebrand, we repackage, we reword. Every time a different manager comes in, says the same thing, but it's just said in a different way. Whether it's Conte bitching like Southampton, whether it's Jose, same manager, or new manager, same players, whether it be Pochettino, I'm not a manager, I'm the coach. If it's not, it's all we're doing. It's all we're doing, and I hope and pray to God that Ange Postecoglou gets the time to build something. Because we keep moaning, and Ian said it to Tottenham Talk Group. Every time we sack a manager, we're just starting the same thing again. Then we have, if we go get another manager, knowing Tottenham like we normally do, after an attacking manager, we go get a defensive manager in. So then we've got a surplus of players that the manager don't want. We have to get rid of them to bring. Then the next manager comes in. Tottenham need to they need to look at the blueprint. You look at teams like Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp, 7-8 years, whatever he's been. Kenny Dalglish back in the day, Rafa Benitez, Roy Evans. The only one that really didn't get time was Roy Hodgson. But they give time. You look at Arsenal with Arsene Wenger, Ferguson with United. Managers need time. Yeah. We just do not give our managers time, and that is the issue. It's the board's issue. But what I'm getting at is we've got to stop saying we're the elite club, we're one of the big whatever. When they say big six, we're not one of the big six. We may be in history, in size and stature, but as an actual football club right now, we're not, and we've got to wake up and be true to ourselves.
Brian, the manager has already stated quite clearly that Spurs don't play that way and go and get superstar players. We go and get a few good players. He's already accepted the Levy style. He's already accepted that he's going to go for quantity over quality. If you read his whole thing, just another puppet, really.
So I was on mute then. Thank you, everybody. Ian, I'm not going to top what Brian said about you, so I'm just going to say, please Shaggy172 on X now, X, and find you over there, and find you on here and other streams, right? Danny, please go over to the Hotspur Hood and subscribe to Hotspur Hood and find Dan's shows.
Cheers.
Randomly will go live, so you have to hit the notification bell, right? But he has some decent shows on there that he just randomly go in and there'll be something there and then he needs to say. Hotspur TV, go over there, or you'll find him on here most of the time on Spurs Kings TV, right? And Brian, I don't even need to give an introduction. Everyone should know where to find him. Tottenham on tour. You know, I just love seeing him when he comes on here. We all love him on here. But yeah, big up to everyone in the chat. I haven't even been able to keep up tonight. It's been just been going off. But thank you for everyone for keeping it civilized as well, right? Back and forth, but no one's got too personal. Thank you so much. But big up to both people that gave us the super chats as well. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and please look out for the show on Tuesday because Ashmatic will be putting everything down in analysing the tactics of why it all went wrong today, right? And a lot of us know, but Ash will put it in a way that we want.
He has more tactics than Ange, let's be honest.
Well, I'm not going to say nothing. They should be looking at me and Ash here. But no, thank you to everyone. It's been a pleasure. But as always, as we always finish on, in Big Ange we trust, and come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.
And as always, Levy out.
Yeah.